Most people don't realize it, but the moment a police officer taps on your car hood, your life can subtly change in ways you'll never fully notice until it's too late. You might think it's a polite gesture, a simple way of saying, "Hey, can we talk?" But I'm here to tell you, it's not that innocent. That tap is a signal, a calculated opening move in a psychological dance that most drivers are completely unprepared for, and if you're not careful, you can give away your rights without even knowing it. Let me be blunt. What you say in those first few seconds can make or break your evening, and sometimes even your future. I've reviewed hundreds of body camera videos, court transcripts, and suppression hearings, and I can tell you that cases often hinge not on what the officer knows, but on what the driver voluntarily gives them. That's why, in those first moments, you need one simple, precise line memorized until it becomes automatic. I do not answer questions. Am I being detained or am I free to go? That is the anchor. That is your shield. That is the line that keeps the legal tide from sweeping you away. And if you walk away remembering nothing else from this video, remember this phrase, because it cuts through fear, adrenaline, and confusion in the moments when your instincts are screaming at you to explain yourself. Here's where this gets complicated. Most people think that as long as they're innocent, their rights will protect them automatically. That if they stay silent or answer honestly, nothing bad can happen. That's a comforting lie. In reality, the law doesn't only care about guilt, it cares about what you say, what you do, and how you appear in those first few seconds. Silence is your friend, talking is your risk. Let's paint a picture. Imagine you're sitting in your car late at night. You're waiting for a friend, or maybe you're just taking a quiet moment to yourself. Suddenly, a sharp tap on your hood interrupts your thoughts. Your heart skips a beat. Your palms sweat. You look up to see an officer standing there, calm, neutral, maybe even friendly. They gesture for you to roll down your window. Instinctively, you start thinking, did I do something wrong? Should I explain myself? Your adrenaline spikes. Your body is wired to talk, to justify, to defend, even before your mind fully processes the situation. And that's exactly what the officer is counting on. That tap, that simple knock, is the opening move in a carefully orchestrated psychological game. Officers are trained to create voluntary interactions. They don't need probable cause at that moment. They just need you to talk, to give them a story, and from that story, they build legal justification for whatever comes next. One nervous answer, one small hesitation, one attempt to explain, and suddenly you've created evidence against yourself. Now, I know what you're thinking. Can't I just be polite? Can't I answer a few questions to avoid conflict? Let me be honest with you. Sometimes, yes, that works, but often it doesn't. The line between cooperation and self-incrimination is razor thin. I've defended people who were completely sober and entirely innocent, yet they were arrested because they tried to explain themselves, because they smiled nervously, because they said too much. That's why the anchor phrase is so critical. Say it calmly, not aggressively, not defensively. Just a steady, controlled statement. I do not answer questions. Am I being detained or am I free to go? Notice how it does two things at once. It asserts your Fifth Amendment right to remain silent, and it forces the officer to clarify your status. Are you free to leave? If so, you leave. Are you being detained? Then they must justify that detention with real, articulable facts. Your words stop being the bridge that carries them further into your private life. Here's a story that illustrates exactly why this matters. I once defended a client who was sitting in his car outside a convenience store late at night. An officer pulled up, tapped the hood, and asked him what he was doing. My client, trying to be polite, explained he was waiting for a friend. The officer asked how long he'd been there. He guessed 10 minutes, then hesitated, then tried to clarify. That hesitation, that small inconsistency, became nervous behavior in the officer's report. It justified further questioning, which eventually led to a consented search and charges that my client never should have faced. Now imagine the same scenario with one change. The moment the hood was tapped, my client said, I do not answer questions. Am I being detained or am I free to go? No inconsistencies, no nervous chatter, no voluntary statements. The officer either had to let him go or articulate a legitimate reason for detention. That single, rehearsed phrase would have protected him entirely. Let me be honest about the hard truth. Asserting your rights can be uncomfortable. Officers may become more direct. They may ask the question repeatedly. They may even call for backup, trying different approaches to elicit conversation. This is where patience, control, and preparation come into play. You might sit there for a few minutes longer. You might feel your chest tighten, your pulse race. Your brain will want to talk. Your body will scream that silence is suspicious. But in this moment, your job is not to please anyone. Your job is to protect yourself. Body language matters just as much as words. Keep your hands visible. Avoid fidgeting. Avoid eye rolls, smirks, defensive leaning. Stay neutral. Breathe. Control the small, subtle gestures that can be misinterpreted as guilt. Remember, officers are reading you before you even open your mouth. They are trained to notice the smallest inconsistencies. And under stress, your instincts can betray you. Adrenaline is powerful. It clouds judgment. It makes memory unreliable. Even honest statements can become contradictory under stress, and that contradiction can be used as suspicious behavior in a police report or in court. Your defense doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to avoid giving them material in the first place. That's why silence, framed correctly, is your most potent tool. And if they ignore you, if you assert your rights and they continue asking questions, you do not argue. You do not raise your voice. You repeat the phrase, calm, steady, unwavering. I do not answer questions. Am I being detained or am I free to go? And then you stop. Let them continue if they must. Their burden is on them, not you. Do not volunteer information. Do not attempt to manage their investigation. You are not responsible for convincing them. You are responsible for protecting yourself. There are nuances. If you are lawfully stopped for something like a traffic violation, you do need to provide your license and registration. That is required. But beyond that, questions about your destination, your companions, your plans, those are the gray areas where your Fifth Amendment right applies. Compliance does not equal cooperation. You can comply with the law while still asserting your rights. That distinction is critical, and it is what most people overlook in the heat of the moment. Officers are human too. Some are fair, calm, professional. Others are aggressive, manipulative, or rely on psychological tactics. You do not know which one you will face when that hood is tapped. You do not gamble with words. You default to the one phrase that protects you in any situation. I do not answer questions. Am I being detained or am I free to go? This is where the real preparation happens. Rehearse it until it comes out of your mouth naturally, even when your heart is racing, your adrenaline is pumping, and your instincts are screaming at you to justify yourself. Because in those moments, knowledge alone does not protect you. Only preparation does. Only instinct backed by practice keeps you safe. The hood tap is not just a tap. It is the opening of a negotiation you never agreed to. The first step in a process where your words become evidence. What you say, or don't say, will shape the entire interaction. It will influence whether you walk away, or whether the system slowly closes around you. It will determine whether the law protects you or whether you inadvertently give it away. So take a deep breath. Memorize the phrase. Feel the power in it. Let it become part of your muscle memory, part of your instinct. Not because you want to be difficult, not because you want to defy authority, but because you understand the truth. In the real world, your words are more dangerous than your actions, and control over them is the only protection you have. I do not answer questions. Am I being detained or am I free to go? Say it, repeat it, rehearse it. Let it guide you through fear, uncertainty, and tension. Let it be the line that keeps you safe, that stops the legal tide before it sweeps you away. Because in real life, under real pressure, you don't rise to the level of your knowledge, you fall to the level of your preparation, and this is the preparation that can save you.